Child, the more I watch this, the more I'm convinced Zadia is not going to be satisfied till she burning death from waiting to exhale. I was your lover and your secretary. Like, girl, you literally want to resent this man at some point in your life for whatever reason because you just won't give it up. Y'all, let's talk about Zadia still clinging to Cam on episode 11 of Ready to Love, Make a Move. Hey, question crew. So we are back and we are on episode 11 of Ready to Love, Make a Move, honey. And we are back in the lion's den. And Tamika is talking with the girls. And when I tell you Ashley's face was the interpretation of how I felt about this entire BS that Zadia tried to play in our face with, child. So Tamika's back with the ladies. We are back on the final, close to the final episode of this show. So the ladies have been picking their keepers, and it's time for them to solidify the thing with their guy. This episode is supposed to be about them getting together and making a last choice about this guy really being the one, and ultimately him feeling the same way back. And so the ladies are in the living room with Tamika, and she's asked them about how they feel about their keepers because they've been on a series of dates with these men. They narrowed it down to them, and they just met their family. And in some instances, they're friends or the nosy parties involved. And so she's asking them how they're feeling just in the process, and everybody's saying that everything is okay, or almost everybody, honey, because here comes Zadia with the BS. And Zadia is out here playing victim. She says that she does not feel okay, that she feels attacked. And she's specifically saying that she feels attacked by Shareese. She explains that since they've gotten to the house in the beginning, Shareese has been very disrespectful to her, called her out of her name, verbally attacked her, and made her feel uncomfortable. And she's unhappy with it. So Tamika says that she understands how Zadia feels and she wants to hear Shareese's side. Now, honey, when I saw that, I could not believe that. And I know y'all was feeling the same way. Zadia was over here running BS game. Ma'am, you have since your own season just never been accountable for your actions. Ain't no victims in this situation. You're just as messy and dramatic as Shareese, and y'all really feed into each other. And so you get in as much as you give out, because it was messy as hell for you to even bring up LJ and try to make their situation seem more than just a friendship or even go there, especially because you had a problem when Shareese blurted out your information about Cam way back when. So it gives Zadia being Zadia once again. And the only difference is she's being passive aggressive this time because she institutes that she's never really been as aggressive as Shareese has been with her verbally or physically. Shareese comes out and says, like, that's BS. I don't even feel like talking about it. I thought we moved past it. Zadia saying, how can we move past it? She said, I thought we were cool, because I swore that she did say that they were cool when they made up downstairs, and they had seemed to be moving in that same direction. And then Zadia goes, no, we were not cool. And so I was just as confused as Shareese. Again, it's just Zadia out here playing games, and the only difference is she wasn't as verbally aggressive as Shareese was. Tamika then chimes in and asks, how the other ladies feel about it. Venetia, I guess, tries to normally stay out of it, but she said something like she would have reacted differently than Zadia would have. But I'm sorry, this was just a BS moment to me. Zadia is not a victim, neither is Shareese, though Shareese didn't try to play victim in this sense. She just gives Zadia as good as Zadia gives and sees beneath the BS. But Tamika tells when they need to get their stuff and move on. She ain't got time to deal with it today because, honey, it is hot in New Orleans and she gonna sweat out her perm. Plus, these final dates and decisions need to be made. So Tamika then dismissed this fourth grade back and forth because she ain't got time to deal with that, honey. It is hot. She's just trying to get these men in this house and get up out of here. So she's letting them know that the men are coming over. They're going to talk about how they felt about these, encounters with their friends and family, and ultimately decide they're going to choose their keeper one more time. And she lets them know that the men are on their way, honey. So get ready, get prepared, and let's get out in the backyard. The men walk in per usual. Everybody's dressed like they got someplace different to go, honey. Some people look like they're going to do construction work. Some people look like they're going to fix your computer for Best Buy. And some people look like they're going to a funeral parlor. And so the men come to the backyard. The women are already out there not speaking to each other, honey, because, Zadia and Shareese still got that tense energy between them. And when Donald shows up, Shareese is standing with Ashley and they're having a conversation. And then she kind of says to Donald, like, hey, how you out here playing my girl like this? Like, why you let your friend approach her? I really appreciate that Shareese spoke up for Ashley in that moment, because it was a really messed up situation that Donald put her in. And we already talked about that last week. But it's just crazy to me how, like, he didn't see it that way. And I'm glad another woman pointed out to him, like, you was foul for that. And that was really messed up. You weren't protecting her. And we've been saying that from the beginning, honey. So anyway, first up to sit down and have a chit chat about where they are is Zadia and Cam. And of course, Zadia is still in delusional land. And she says that she's a fixer in a lot of her relationships and situationships. She says that she tries to continue to pursue even when her brain is telling her no, her heart will tell her yes. And she ends up in these situations where this is not the person for her, but she continues to kind of pursue that situation. And when I tell you Cam could care less, so they start having a conversation about where their future might be, and he's always saying the same thing to her, like, I'm happy you're giving me patience and time. Basically, I'm happy you're wasting your time and you're wasting it with me. And Zadia's like, there's no other place I'd rather be because I'm delusional and I don't listen. When I tell you there's not any other way that this man can continue to say that he is not available for what it is that she needs, but she keep tuning in every single time, it's like she just enjoys the channel no matter what they're playing. And she's still sitting in the delusional land. She ultimately says that she likes their communication. There is an issue as to whether or not he's fully committed, but she's committed to the process of nonsense. And so she's going to stick it out with Cam, at least unless he don't stick it out with her, honey, which I think we're going to find out later on in the episode. Speaking of La La Land, we show up to finally see this sit down that we need to see between Ashley and Donald, because as you know, Ashley walked off in their last encounter because she was done with the BS, and Donald not really stepping up like he needed to dismiss his friend when she was disrespecting Ashley. And Donald says that, coming into the house, he says that even if him and Ashley don't want to work out, he does want to make sure that they leave as civil human beings. Sir, why don't you ask your friend to be civil when she was sitting there? There's a way to communicate. And although I know Ashley can be very expressive and can be, very expressive with her hands, and she can talk a little bit aggressively sometimes, she definitely wasn't super aggressive when she was discussing things with him. And I found that she was over apologizing too much in her explanation as he was gaslighting her, because he really was, when he tried to turn it into an issue about her being angry about something that she validly had a point to be upset about. Your friend was out of control, sir. And you should have stopped that right then and there. When it was getting hot and heated, you should have stepped in and said this was not cool. So Donald says that their communication needs to be fixed if they're going to move forward. And Ashley says, she's still really pissed off about the fact that he really did not protect her when his friend was going in on her, and she was aggressive. He apologizes. He said that the friend apologized. That was confusing to me. I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. I need that apology to be public since that disrespect was public. But I think he was saying like she apologized. I don't know if she apologized to Ashley, whatever the situation may be. It was all the way messed up. We needed to see it too, in my opinion. That would have felt like a real apology. But either way, sir, I'm still not feeling the fact that you tried to gaslight her on her anger when your friend was messy as fuck. And it was super uncomfortable to watch her go in. Ashley says that bothers her tremendously, and if she feels like it's a red flag that he didn't step up for her in that way. I also agree with that. Like, I feel like you have to have boundaries in certain situations, even if your friends are involved in your family. If you're into something with your significant other, or you see it going left and you love both those people, you need to step in and say, hey, let's cut it out. Parents do that with kids. How you ain't doing that, sir? Like, what's the situation? The back and forth Yemen room was wild, but him trying to flip that on Ashley, make it seem like, well, almost like she deserved it, was a red flag to me. I'm not sure why she's still keeping Donald, honey. At this point, it's giving desperation. She keep fanning, I don't know, maybe it's the heat, but she essentially says that she's going to keep him despite that entire situation, even though she's scratching her head to figure out if she want to make a go at it. I don't see it for them, but Ashley at this point don't want to leave with no prize. Now, I really am shocked to say this, y'all, but I have to say that the Bea and Shareese have really grown on me. I mean, Shareese is really excited to see him. She had a very positive experience with his family. She met his daughter and his cousin, and, they had a very positive interaction. They were very nice to her and very welcoming. And when he came to speak to her later on, he told him that the family, the daughter really enjoyed him as well. And so they've had a really upbeat moment since Shareese left him in the kitchen with that Louis Vuitton vest. And she likes his family and the fact that he can speak more than 10 words in any encounter that they have right now. Because when I tell you, he went from, being on mute to, just completely changing overnight and opening up, being more communicative with Shareese. It's been really beautiful to see. And I mean, despite him as managing the city of New York's money, I actually feel like I could see a future with him and Shareese. Their distance, however, is an issue for her. She feels like they live so far away. He's in New Orleans and he has his own law practice. She is an esthetician and she has her own beauty business in Miami. And Shareese really misses her family. She misses her mom. I'm not sure if she takes care of her mother and even her dog. Now, child, you can take that dog wherever that you're going to go. But Shareese's main thing is that her life is in Miami and his life is here. And how do we make that work if we're always apart? But, the mayor reassures her that even though he's already lying about living in his residence in New York City, he will make it work with her, whether it be New Jersey or Miami or any of those other things, they will figure it out. So I was really happy to see him lean into wanting to make it work with Shareese. It was very mature of him, which was not something we got in the first half. Shareese says that she wants to keep him, and his response, for goodness sake, once he stopped being a clown, was very mature. It was less cat daddy and more respectful. And I have to say, I like that. Now, child, if there's one thing that Vernisha gonna do with Tigger is get him all the way together. So Venetia and Tabari are sitting down in the kitchen and they're chatting. And Venetia says that meeting his mother was really a delight. And we know that Tabari had his mom and his brother come to their meetup. And it really was very nice. Venetia had a positive time. His mother was extremely pleasant. She honestly gave, for I think most women, the first time that you meet somebody's mom, the type of feel that you want to have. You hope that she's hospitable and nice, and very pleasant. And his mother was all of those things and very rational and understanding. And her and Venetia actually had a thing or two in common, which also made it really, really sweet. So Venetia really enjoyed the experience, and I think we did too. And Tabari says that he, enjoyed that his mom enjoyed meeting her as well as the brother. She appreciates that he's trying to fix their communication issues, and she feels like if they fix that, they can really be successful together. She even says she can see them being a power couple, but she is concerned because their distance is far away. Obviously, she's in Houston. She doesn't have any plans of moving anytime soon, and he's in NOLA. Plus, he has a child in Mississippi in Gulfport, so he goes to see the kid as well, and that's a big deal for her. But she does love that Tabari is really a solid guy. He's a good father. He's working on the communication part, and she really enjoys his intelligence and his fun side. Ultimately, she says, if they could work through the communication piece, she thinks that they would be a hit, and she's going to keep him around. He's corny, and but he has positive, good energy, and he seems to be a solid individual. Tabari really grew on me, so I have to say, I felt, at least right now, because we ain't been to the reunion yet, child, he really shocked me as one of the people, including Eric Adams, that like really turned over a new leaf. And with Tabari, I think more so revealed more of who he was. And I like him for her. So the ladies have finally sat down with the men, and it's the end of the night. They're having a little last little chit chat as couples. And Tamika says, look, this is great. This is fine, but I got to get home because my hair needs to get done. And she basically revisits with the couples and lets them know that, hey, this is one of the final times that you guys will see each other. The last time really will be, well, the second to the third last time. They got like 2 or 3 more dates. I don't know why she said it, but she basically said this next date is on the men. So a lot of the dates we have set y'all up on and y'all have done the activities that we've suggested or y'all have kind of figured it out. But this time I need the men to show out and show up for these ladies. And also y'all need to make a final decision about if you all will be together. So she says, everybody says their good nights. They head on out. And the next time we see them, honey, we see Venetia waving to Tabari from down below a tour bus. And Venetia and Tabari are meeting up, and his date is the thing that he said that he would do from the beginning with her. He really wanted to show her New Orleans and his town. And so he has rented out a full tour bus, honey, for them. He got some daiquiris. I love it. Tabari really, like I said, has grown on me tremendously. I really enjoyed the mixture of his personality, and he seems to come from a really good family. And Venetia enjoys that about him as well. And honey, let me tell you something. The beginning of that day, love to see it. If there's one thing about New Orleans, they're going to give you some good food and some good cocktails. And you can't travel too many blocks before you don't run into a daiquiri shop of some sort or someplace that served daiquiris. So I was absolutely here for it. I loved Venetia's dress. I thought it was very cute. It's very much giving Mardi Gras kind of color shimmer. It was very shimmery and colorful. She likes anything that's fun, flirty, and form-fitting, honey. And it really was a nice idea for the date. One, it kept in line with something that he said he was going to do for her. And I really think the tour of the city was great. I love when people take you around their town when they go places. I've been a couple to a couple of countries and quite a few cities in the United States. And I have to say, like, I really enjoy getting the tour view, not just from a formal tour, but when you're with like a cab driver or a family member that lives there and they can kind of take you around. Tabari is extremely knowledgeable about Louisiana and specifically New Orleans. And it was nice that he gave her his own tour. I know I spent some time in New Orleans and years ago, like 2 summers in a row, and in those in different parishes, but also in Baton Rouge and Monroe and stuff like that. And honestly, seeing through the eyes of people that actually live there is so much better, especially Black folks. You just get so much history and culture that's wrapped up in that. And I always encourage people, like, if you're in your own city, especially if you live in a major metro area or you're going to a city that you frequent a lot, always take a tour. You just learn so much cultural history that you may have not known about the area and communities. And it just opens your eyes and your worldview up. So I really loved it. And he was super informative. Venetia said that she really enjoyed it. She spent her own time in Louisiana throughout the years because she has family there and in New Orleans, and she never went on a formal tour. And she loved how knowledgeable Jabari was about the history of his city. I meant to say Jabari, not Jabari, that's the other one. And, you know, she loved that he was so passionate about everything and letting her know. And after that, they head to dinner at a great restaurant. And, you know, she's here for his laugh and they're joking and having fun. They're sharing food, talking about their likes and dislikes when it comes to ketchup over ranch, honey, and just different things like that. But Venetia wants to make sure that they are serious. And Tabari lets her know, like, yes, I am serious about you. I want this to continue. I think we can make it work. Her issue, again, is communication. Her concern is that they need to keep this same energy even when she's somewhere else because she feels like he can struggle with doing that. And she's worried that when they're not around each other, he won't do that. And they will only have FaceTime, the phone, WhatsApp. Like they'll only have those social media communications and text messaging and things because they won't physically be present with each other. And so she needs to feel him daily. And I completely understand that as somebody who initially met my significant other, you know, in a long distance situation in terms of how we initially communicated. So, you know, living in a different state from somebody else, I totally understood that. And then, like, you have to be on point with that communication for it to work. Ultimately, you know, we don't have that anymore, but a lot of people don't survive that period. And so you have to be, you know, very clear about how you communicate. You have to be consistent with that communication or it's not going to work. So the next date is Lord about Don. And Don, what the hell were you thinking, sir? You know, I was not here for this date at all. It ended up going well, but honestly, I feel like this is not something you do to somebody when you don't know what their concerns or their fears are. So Ashley and Don meet up, and Ashley really meets up with Don, and ends up that they are actually ziplining. And when I tell you I was not here for this, Ashley seems to be afraid of heights. She said she wasn't comfortable with it. But not only are they ziplining, honey, when I saw that Steve Irwin sign, I was like, I would have made a U-turn, honey. Because ain't he dead? No, ma'am. And they said, don't even think you Steve Irwin. Honey, I don't think I'm Steve Irwin, Bob Vila. I don't think I'm none of these people. Bob Ross, none of that. I don't paint. I don't find none of that. I said, look, I would be headed left. But Ashley decided to stay. And she's like in a little romper because she is not only climbing heights today, which John decides to tell her right then and there, but they're zip lining over live alligators. So they go into this little hut and she's playing with the baby alligator, and the man tells her the ones outside are bigger. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, you're going to be zip lining over alligator pond. Basically, if this zip line, something go wrong, I'm dead because I'm going to fall in the water and they're going to kill me. And he tells her, well, I'm here to help you. Like, this is about trust. So we could have did like a trust fall, a little classroom or something like that. There's a million ways that we could build trust. We could have went roller skate. You could make sure I didn't fall. We're not ziplining over alligators. He gets Ashley to go up these things, even though she's super scared of heights. And then when she gets up there, he says, oh, if I had known she was afraid. Sir, ziplining is not something you pull on somebody. That's something you let somebody know ahead of time, like, hey, are you afraid of heights? And if they say yes, this is probably not the time for you to get over this fear. But Ashley, you know, she soldiers through, honey. And this is something that Venetia brought on later on that I want to bring up when the time comes. But she basically soldiers through. She gets up to the heights, even though she's super scared. And she eventually does the zip line. She goes first, and then he goes behind her. She makes it across, and then they go back the other way. And it just, to me, this date was more disturbing than it was triumphant, even though she ended up going through her fear. She says that she's happy. Let's go get something to eat. I'm glad I conquered this. But to be honest with you, I thought it was really messy that he even made this a date for multiple reasons. So Eric Adams decided he's going to take Shareese horseback riding. Shareese looks great. I loved her entire look from head to toe. This was a really cute look for her. I feel like it also made her just look a little bit younger, a little bit fresher than sometimes like she can look in certain things. Like she normally looks great in her clothes. All the women I think look in great shape, but like Shareese really looked very youthful here, and I loved it because sometimes she can look a little hard. And it was nice to see her have a softer look. You know, Eric Adams came out with that Louis Vuitton vest halter on, honey, and I didn't know he had a cowboy hat and everything, but you know they looked really cute together. And Eric has said that he is used to being at a club, golf, whatever, but he wanted to take Shareese horseback riding. He wanted to do something different. So they go on the ride. They're doing okay. Shareese is doing better than him, honey. He's struggling with that horse. Up and down, his foot then came out the saddle. He halfway gonna get knocked down by the horse. Meanwhile, Shareese and the instructor are flowing through like it's nothing, honey. They get to the end, and Shareese is cracking up at the fact that this man is struggling with that horse. But he makes it through, no complaints. He's not doing anything extra weird. And it seems to be positive. And when Shareese looks over, he actually has set up a picnic. And it has her name and his name. It was kind of cute, you know, but we were expecting that from him because, you know, he seemed to be the type that likes to set up romantic things. And he really is trying to stretch forward. Shareese says that, you know, she's really enjoying her time with him. He's really enjoying his time with her. He says, you know, there's more to come in this situation. And she's happy about how things are going with them and that he's communicating more. But she is really concerned because she reveals to us that in the last three relationships that she's had, she has had struggles with, you know, the relationships because they've been long distance and the man has not been consistent once they've parted ways. So she meets somebody, they're hanging out, they're doing good, but then of course she has to go back home, and that's when the inconsistency starts. And she doesn't want to go back down that road again. She feels like she's tired of sort of doing this long distance thing that never works out. But she really, really likes Maurice, and she thinks that there can be something. Maurice says, hey, anything worth having is worth trying for. He's being very positive and trying to reinforce her that he's going to try to keep the same energy and that they're building. And if they really both want it, it can really, really happen. And I have to say, he really sold, you know, her on the idea that he's going to be consistent. And I really hope so for their sake, because I really am liking how they gel well together, especially they're in the same age range. And he checks off a lot of the boxes that Shareese has been looking for. Child, so this last date, of course, is with the circus clowns. And when I tell you Cam's face is how I felt watching him and Zadia talk to each other. First of all, why was their date him taking photos of her? So I know that Cam mentioned when they first met that he was into photography, but when I tell you this was the cheapest non-creative date ever, he already does this for a living. So what was so great about him taking photos of her? He could have did that at any point during their time together that did not include the actual final date that was supposed to be creative. And it was just disturbing to see that he didn't really try and that the other men sort of did try a little bit. Even Donald's old crazy, irrational, dangerous date was still something different and unique and out of the, you know, I don't know, just something that was creative and he could think about how it connected to Ashley, even though it was wild crazy. Just taking photos of Zadia in that bad wig and dress didn't make any sense to me, child. So she walking around in leggings and some like peasant dress with this blonde wig and looked ridiculous. And their date was even more ridiculous. They do a couple of spins. She moves around. They end up going to dinner. It was very bland. And basically, they're sitting down, and Cam is saying that he really loves where they are right now. He appreciates her patience once again, and he's happy that they have a really open line of communication. And he says that that's something he definitely wants to continue when she goes back to DC, and for them to have an open line of communication, whether it be friendship, whether it be otherwise. So when I tell you this man was not saying, I definitely want us to continue where we are going and make it so that we can possibly be exclusive, he was saying like, hey, if we only be friends or we be more than friends, I'm happy either way. So Zadia is pissed because she felt like they were going down a road that he's not been leading her down the entire time. She feels like it's weird that he's saying that, you know, it just would be an open situation. And again, he's saying to her, like, I'm happy wherever this may lead. And Zadia only wants it to lead one way. And Cam is like, two roads diverge, honey. I'm just saying, this man is not trying to derail from his plan, and Zadia is having second thoughts all of a sudden. She should be having third, fourth, and fifth thoughts because, girl, he's been telling you this from the beginning. I don't know if you need to hear it in English or Spanish, sign language, smoke signals. He don't want you. So, Cam says he thinks that they should leave the relationship open, nothing too serious, no pressure, which is not the direction that these relationships are supposed to be going in. And Zadia, again, is just refusing to accept that. In German, in a fortune cookie, she just doesn't want to believe that this man is saying, I don't have the time to commit. I'm super busy, committed to the other things that's going on in my life. He says he thinks that he's doing the right thing because he's not giving her any false promises and he's providing transparency. Now, that is true, but he also is doing this thing where it's manipulative, where he makes it on her, and you can always step away too. You could always just go, look, I know I'm not going to be the person for this. Instead of putting this only in your lap, I think we should end. You keep also letting her choose you, knowing that you're not committed to the situation. And so they're back in delusional land because even with all of this stuff that they're hearing, Zadia is still choosing Cam. So Tamika is sitting down with the ladies having a conversation, and it's clear she never made it to the hairdresser, honey, because what is this wig? No earrings, and I'm not sure what's going on with that dress. It looks like she borrowed her daughter's prom dress. But Tamika sit down with the ladies nonetheless. She wants to know how everything went on the different dates, and Shareese is up first on the chopping block. And Shareese says that, she liked the date with Eric Adams. Everything was good. She even got emotional with him. And it was a moment where she basically was talking about her mom and missing her dog in her life. She says Maurice really reassured her and told her he had her back and he supported her, but she is connected to her life in Miami. And she's also still harboring concerns because she's dated guys in the past that been long distance and has not worked out. But she does see a future with him and she is interested to see where it goes. So she has to kind of follow her heart on this one. Tamika's happy to hear that they're working out. And she asked the other ladies, what do they think about Maurice? And Venetia says that she thinks that they would be very good together. She finds that Maurice is responding and communicating with Shareese well. And as long as they do that, that should work out for them. When I tell you the whole time Shareese is talking, Zadia's face is frowned up and in nasty mode because, they hate each other, honey. And so she just does not care. And so Ashley says the same thing. She thinks Maurice is being consistent. And that's all you can ask from the man. And as long as he stays with communicating with Shareese and is clear about what the requirements are, they should be fine. They asked Zadia in the green screen, does she care about anything that's going on with Shareese and Maurice? She, of course, says no. Moving on, she then asks Vern about her and Tabari. So Venetia says that her and Tabari are good and they have a lot in common and she really enjoys him. However, she says she's still concerned about the communication and she feels like men change for women that they want to change for. I'm not really sure what we're talking about when she says change. I thought they just had a good time. And I thought that Jabari was working on his communication, and Vern reiterated that to us. I feel like they cut in scenes sometimes and we don't get to see certain things because I'm really trying to figure out, like, where did he fall off, sis? Because we don't know. And from what we saw, everything was good, but it seemed like she got another problem, but we don't know why. So Vern, you need to give us more, or Ready to Love, stop cutting scenes. And I was confused about what other requests she possibly could have for Jabari. I also was shocked that Tamika didn't do the same thing she did with Shareese, which is ask the other women how they felt about the man. Because I thought she was going to do that with everybody, but I guess not, honey. We move on to Zadia, and of course, Zadia is lying about her date with Tamika. She says that everything went well and that her and Cam get along great. But the date was really whack, and you didn't get clarity about what you wanted, or you're refusing to accept the clarity the man is trying to give you. And she says that she appreciates him, but she's concerned again about his commitment to the situation. And she's concerned about how things will change when she moves. And again, she doesn't know where they stand again and has an issue about whether or not he would be the one. Girl, he don't have time for you. Moving along. Last but not least, we hit up Miss Ashley, who is wearing another orange delight. It gives escapades. It gives skates on ice. It's giving Winter Olympics. And she is talking about Donald. So she says that she almost died on her date with him. And I do agree. It was so close to death, honey. I love when she went into the camera and said, Mommy, if something happens to me. Because it really was given say your prayers. But it's also why we love Ashley and her personality. She said she had a good time. It was fun. She saw Donald in a different light and she really enjoyed their date. And she said that they have agreed not to dwell in the past. And honey, when Venetia's eyes rolled, I was like, ooh, I was right there with you, sis. And just move forward with the positive. But she said you can tell something, I don't know. You can tell Venetia, like I said, wasn't feeling it. And they go straight to Venetia in that moment, although they go to her, behind the scenes on like the green screen later on. And Venetia basically says that Ashley has such a good heart. She always is more concerned about how other people feel in the relationship than she is about her own feelings. And she does think that sometimes it's to Ashley's detriment, that she basically puts her feelings on the back burner. And I feel like she did that, like I said earlier, on the date. I feel like the entire date itself, she was putting her feelings on the back burner. I don't think Ashley really enjoyed the zip lining. Once it was done, it was done. But honestly, she was afraid. And in that moment, he should have probably said, like, hey, we could do something else, but they had already decided to do it. I don't think she really enjoyed that. I think it really scared the hell out of her. But I feel like she's the type of girlfriend that would just like go along to get along, or the type of person that'd be like, well, he already planned it. I guess we could do it, even if she don't like it. And I hate that for her. And I think Venetia does as well. I think we can all agree that, she was kind of like that in the first season with Alex as well. And I feel like it's kind of playing out with Donald. But we'll see where this goes. Vern doesn't want her heart to get hurt by Donald. And I totally agree. All the ladies are currently still in the yes with their men. And Tamika lets them know that next week is the final of choosing. So we go to the break. We see the next filter preview for next week. And we also see that they're including the reunion up front, honey. So it's about to be lit. And it already looks like Shareese is getting into it. And it looks like she's getting into it with Ashley. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Let me know what y'all thinking about these keepers in this situation, honey. Are you feeling these men? Are you feeling these women are just clinging to anything not to be lonely? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.